All right, quick review of the day. Um, we have this back test of this breakdown that hasn't quite cleared the EMA convergence on the daily. So we got resistance here. We can actually see in the overnight that the market actually is denying it so far. We'll see how pans out tomorrow. I took some NVIDIA calls off this defending structure and we made a nice scalp, but the reaction was very muted. Price action seemed a bit odd to me after we get like big Nvidia news that they have way better tech than AMD, and then AMD outperforms Nvidia. Looks like AMD is taking a much larger move to the downside though in the after hours. Even though it was just a like it looked like a straight up day, it's just important to note larger structure hasn't been invalidated. And overall, this really isn't a very big move from the market. In fact, looking at futures, it looks like right now we've actually given up a majority of the move, actually falling below the pre-market high of today and the futures price action as well. So keeping on some of those puts, I think, was a wise decision. We'll see how tomorrow pans out. I do think that until the market breaks the EMA convergence, it is the higher probability play to short the pops. Um, we just have to be mindful of the bigger earnings that comes tomorrow. There were some solid bids out of clouds today. I think NBIS was really the outstanding performer. That is was interesting to keep an eye on, but it's pretty pricey already on the weeklies. But we did break this greater this kind of multi-week structure here and get a breakout, and then we actually held that high into the close. So something like a morning move could be interesting here. I went ahead and closed my Oracle share position, kind of begrudgingly, because I'm looking to actually just add more leverage. I'm looking to put that capital back in just in straight up option leaps. But I wanted to give it another day because if this market truly does a reclaim back into this wedge, I do expect Cloud to be an outperformer. And unlike most of the tech stocks, which I think are not done with their downtrends, I don't think we're quite done with the pullback on the Qs. I wouldn't be surprised if we're close to being done with Oracle, just given the structure. Again, under 119.91, which is like this double bottom, things get a bit dicey, and I might want to get out of the way and see if we come test 101. It's a pretty insane price given the fundamentals here, but I mean, it's not impossible that the market wants to try to make a test for that. So it's just important to be mindful of that. We also had some coin calls do really well into this Bitcoin test, but I closed them. But this was our plan, was to kind of come in off this dip. This is still a head and shoulders, so if we get a move through it, I might try to look for another scalp. But honestly, over this level, we're kind of looking for a full reclaim of 72,000 before we kind of size up. Because remember, this is the downtrend. This is the downtrend structure here. So you're not really looking for a breakout here. You're looking for a denial that probably gets shoved back down. The reason I say that is because the daily TTM is already rolling over. So, like, even though it's getting this short-term move, I do think that there is some signs of weakness. The weekly's not turning. The daily's already turning over, and actually looks like it probably wants to do more consolidation. Maybe coming into late September, October is when we finally actually break out of this downtrend. And that's a change of thesis because down here I thought it was really easy to start getting bullish as soon as it kind of denied this much larger downtrend. But now, looking at like the momentum confluence, kind of get rugged on this. It doesn't. It's looking very dicey to me. Gold, on the other hand, looks really strong today. It gapped up through our key level, and so I went ahead and took a swing with size. We were up 7% on that into the close, but I can see like we're gapping up another 4 points. Unlike Bitcoin, there's some pretty solid confluence. So our daily is about to flip. Our 2 days improving, and then our weekly finally rolled over. Now, a rollover isn't as strong of a signal as an actual flip. Um, Keep in mind that this is what I mean. Like, this is a rollover of the bullish momentum, and this is the actual flip. Um, but a rollover is good to see as we start to get this turn, especially through this short term trend line. So we still are looking for just another visit to the upper end of this wedge here, but I think a move through that can really give us a nice explosive move. Will we get another double top? I'm not really sure. Really, you're looking for 448, and then you're looking for something like 490. Above 490, you're gonna have some resistance at 509. If you get through 509, we're talking 600, 650. But yeah, I really like this overall structure. As we talked about in the past, the 618 is such a strong level. Even if we just break it down from like a normal patterns behavior, I mean, you've got a triple bottom that defended. So I will say that a breakdown of the lows from here is pretty much hands off, like completely hands off. I'll cut everything. Because that's when you can get into free fall, especially a structure like this almost looks like an inverted hit cup and handle if it does break the lows. So far, everything is pointing higher, so looks great. Not worried about it yet. And that's really just the big things to keep in mind for this market that are standing out to me. I'm still keeping an eye on bonds. Keep in mind that we are downside favored right now. If we were talking about something that can actually give us the continued downside, bonds is definitely a piece of that conversation. The one thing that's kind of keeping me in the long swings is the Fed leadership we have. Definitely, supply side economists, right? I don't want to get too repetitive here because we talked about this so many times, but I do think that rate cuts are coming. And this does look pretty oversold on indicators. So I do want to see a more substantial bounce. This is the big word, I don't know what the word I want to use is, but kind of red flag to me is seeing the weekly kind of push lower. But I want to see a bounce to like 85 because pretty much every time frame is telling me that's where we should probably come and likely visit. It's also worth noting that the monthly was looking like it would to give a pop and also denied that today. So something to kind of keep in mind on the other side of things. The cut is pretty simple. You probably would have cut at the 82.78 at the prior low. That'll be a pretty nasty move on the swing position, but it'll be one of those things where you kind of have to we'll kind of dynamically view it, see what's going on. I'm probably willing to weather pain there. Look for those rate cuts. If we get rate cuts, the whole bond market is completely one-sided on cuts. So I do think that you'll get a substantial bounce and revaluation out of TLT on the rate cuts. It's important to note that longer-term maturities will have a more dramatic move, but you also need to be more precise in your timing, and they are more priced in for the upside. So TLT is just dirt cheap right now, where that's probably where you're going to be able to find your 2, 3, 4x on what would be perceived as a surprise to the market, which is rate cuts. So that's my overall thoughts right now. Playing intraday, very short term. Making sure that long-term ideas, it's either playing very short-term right here or it's giving multiple months for ideas to play out. Because the way things look right now definitely favors downside and not any short order, not the big plunge V-shaped recovery we were talking about, which is very unfortunate. I do think that it could end up being something like a slow bleed into August, but might end up being another several weeks of this. Post maybe we get the pop and drop from earnings, we get the downside, then we kind of do this rounded bottom into August. rally into midterms because they love to print money into midterms and offer big promises. Markets tend to pump back up, and yeah, overall, like we were looking for this kind of weakness to really generate in May and June. It's coming in July. It's still pretty in line with what you would expect from a midterm year. I'm still looking for the unusual bullishness on the other side of this, though. And I do believe, I don't have any reason to believe that's not coming on the other side. So, that's my thoughts. See you guys in the morning. All right. God bless. If you're, remember, like there's times in the market where you're set up to thrive, and there's other times where all you have to do is survive. Okay. This is definitely a survive moment, because when it clears up, you make whatever you can, you survive it, you make what you can, and then tomorrow you thrive. Even though I think there could have been a bit better stock selection today, like still made some money, still looking for some ideas and potential catalysts for both upside and downside. So still being flexible and nimble, and open-minded about the path towards our bigger ideas, which is going to be essential when the market's volatile like this. And kind of, yeah, and I mean, there's the other piece of this of like, markets kind of just looks like it wants to bid up and everyone's starting to get excited again. At least that's what the price action indicates, but you kind of have to see through when you're playing downside, you kind of have to see through the passive flows of markets, because passive flows are always going to bid. So just note that downside is not easy to play in markets that inherently mechanically go up. So that'll be my last piece of wisdom. Okay. So God bless, guys. We'll see what tomorrow morning brings us. It was a great day. Wasn't anything to jump up and scream about. I actually do think the coin play was really nice to get paid out on that one. I will say that coin play got me pretty excited. Big gap up, shoots right off the pre-market, and I ended up selling into this massive pump. And these positions were beaten down pretty bad as I tried to get long here and hold for this larger pop idea, looking for this pop off the lows. So that was nice to see. All right. Anyways, God bless. See you in the morning.